Okay. Welcome, everybody. This is the Smart Connector podcast. I have the most amazing guest for you today, Fredrik Sandvall. Welcome, Fredrik. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Jane. Looking forward to have a great chat with you as last time.
Yes, definitely. So just like to introduce Fredrik before we start. So Fredrik is a board director and strategic advisor who multiplies equity value for private equity and ventures between $5 and $100 million. He's also a global connector and investor and host of the Invest in You podcast. With a military background, he's also a director of special operations for the United Nations, ensuring operational continuity, diplomatic stability, and risk mitigation in high friction geopolitical environments. And he's a former CEO and chief of staff also for the United Nations. So we're going to talk about all sorts of interesting things today, including the connection between his military background and leadership in business. We're also going to talk about AI and the impact of AI on private equity and financial environments, investment, all of that kind of thing. So really, really interesting, far-reaching conversation. And Fredrik, I've been on your podcast as well, haven't I? So this is a kind of opportunity really for us to continue the conversation that we started there. And
Exactly.
personally, I can't wait.
Yeah, no, exactly. Flip the script, changing chairs. But like last time, I'm very happy to have it very much a two-way dialogue as the last time. So yeah, let's jump in.
Yeah, amazing. So as you said, let's jump in. So let's talk about your military career, Fredrik, because a lot of people would think, well, how did he actually make that transition from the military to what he's doing now? It's, you wouldn't necessarily say that there is a straight line between those two occupations, let's just say. So tell us your story.
All right. So coming from a very normal family, I chose a very not normal life. So my curiosity has taken me all over the world, including to the military. I was always interested in things like that when I was young, and even tried to work like 2 weeks in the military regiment. And the officers like were joking. I was just 14 years old. I was teaching the soldiers how they should do how to assemble their weapons. And they said, "You will become an officer." And I said, no chance. And just a couple of years later, I did the selection process for the same as your paratroopers and the same as your special boat squad. And I ended up with the military divers and so on, and spent many years there training really the elite of the younger men in Sweden. And I really enjoyed the competitive edge, to be super selective who you pick and train, and then drive them even harder to explore ways that they had no idea they had. So when I was on the soldier side first, to become an officer within that kind of unit was completely impossible for me mentally. Why? Because they felt like gods. Like how can they be so good? So I never thought I would become an officer myself, but I did, and I really enjoyed it. Then I did a couple of strange career choices. So from being the youngest captain in the whole Marines in Sweden, I decided to start to go abroad on real missions. And that meant also saying no to some extremely good career paths back home. And that took me as an intelligence officer, operations officer, leader and commander to various parts of the world. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'll park it there. It has taken me to so many countries and so many connections, and really interesting because Sweden has not been in war the last couple of 100 years, where we had most parts of the Northern Europe, and we tried to take Moscow and Russia, but we failed. But now we are very peaceful. Big smile for those of you who don't see the video. With that said, we were using military powers against organized crime, things like drugs, trafficking, and that felt very real, very valuable and important. And also many years working with the peacekeeping or tasks, stopping war, reporting from war, and also trying to make it better for people in countries by providing food, resources, roads, and so on. So it has been a very valuable part of my career, and many aspects of discipline. So I prefer, keeping fit now. So I'm probably better shape now than for many, many years, because I'm doing another project now in uniform as we speak. So back to you.
Oh yeah. Well, that's really really interesting, and I think what was coming through there, Fredrik, is really a sense of purpose,
Yes.
because it sounds like you were doing some really worthwhile work, and that must have been incredibly rewarding for you. I
Yeah.
was just interested because I've actually spent quite a lot of time in Sweden myself. I've worked in Sweden. I've actually done a lot of international work as well. And it's been interesting to see how Sweden has changed over the years, because it's always had a reputation for being an extremely democratic
Yeah.
society. And I certainly know when I went there, it was really, really different to the UK. In fact, I was startled at how egalitarian it was. It was completely different. But the outside perception is that that's gone a little bit too far, and that there are some social problems there now. And I'm just interested, before we get on to the business stuff, to
Yeah.
ask what you think, as somebody who was obviously involved at the sharp end of stopping crime, war, bad things from happening. What you think the current let's just say challenges and opportunities Sweden is facing today.
Yeah, I think there are many similarities with the problems we faced in the UK. We've also been living like 16 years as well. That
Mm,
certain parts of society benefit from working with crime, basically. And in
mm,
Sweden, it's even more strange, because you can be in benefits full time and get like a decent salary for doing nothing, and then you can work full time with crime, which I don't think is fair or right with the system, of course. And also to have hospitals that are so comfortable, so people sometimes try to get into the hospital over the winter.
oh.
That doesn't really make sense, does it?
No. Well, that's it, really. I suppose it's society today, isn't it? It's everywhere, really. It's
And
yeah.
to add to that, I think what makes Sweden unique is, and it's still the case today, that the whole society is trying to lift from the bottom and push from the top. So
Yeah.
everyone should be more equal. That means women and men. It also means those who are more poor to those who are worse off. So if lately we've had a lot of news about people who are rich leaving the UK, and in Sweden, you really have high tax if you're high
Yeah.
income earner, but if you set it up right, you can be tax efficient in whichever country you are in the world. But it's a lot harder to put some money in the pocket in the end of the day if you are like rich or ultra high net worth individual in Sweden, because the taxes are beating you down a lot.
Yeah.
You can, as an entrepreneur, like if you would take your business and you would run exactly the same in Sweden, you would probably need to work almost twice as long for the same amount of money in your pocket.
Mm. And in fact, that was always the case. That's been the case for decades, really, hasn't it? That
Yep.
the
Yep.
taxes are very high
Yes.
for more affluent people. So yeah, well, that's very, very interesting. So Fredrik, military service, that's part of life in Sweden, isn't it? Everybody goes through that, don't they?
It used to be the case.
Oh,
Nowadays, we have turned back to not voluntary anymore. So we're basically testing everyone in the whole country, and then the military is partly through chance and partly through selection, picking roughly 10% of the population. When I did it
okay.
10 years ago, it was the other way around. 90% did the service, so it's quite different. But
Okay.
things change quick at the moment, so you never know. So my youngest son, Charlie, is one of the co-hosts on my own podcast. He is right and doing military service.
Hmm. Oh, that's very interesting. So Fredrik, when you came out of the military and you decided to get involved in this world of private equity, fundraising, investment, all of that kind of thing, how did that all come about? Where did the opportunities come from?
Started through a very good segue, management consulting. There you can work with some of the best companies in the world. You can travel, you can solve really big problems that has a lot of value. And with that toolbox, you can add value in so many different ways. So I specialized further in terms of how you can grow revenue, the sales side of things. So I was helping from very small companies, startups, all the way to some of the biggest, literally one of the biggest companies in the world right now, for example, Google, how Google can sell more and better, and they do. Well, that was a few years ago. But also really interesting to see how even the best of the best, for example, working with one of the top 4 consulting brands in the world, helping their most seniors people to become better at business development. It was very humbling, where like companies I couldn't get into when I was a lot younger, to be working with their directors and partners. That was really cool, and not something I could foresee. So again, the curiosity brought me the learning, and then not to be shy of speaking and sharing, and like yourself, very willingly putting a lot of free things out for the world, and many people would like to engage with you to get help with implementation quite often.
Yeah. Oh, well. That's amazing, Fredrik. I, love to hear your story. So we were going to talk about AI and the impact of AI on private equity and investment, and what's
Yes.
kind of happening, because AI is really impacting business everywhere. It's impacting our lives in a very, very big way right now.
Yeah.
So what trends have you seen in the finance world in particular, and in, private equity, for example? How is it affecting decisions in that industry?
Yeah, I'll just do a small comment before I respond to that question. I'll try to not forget it. I did some research linked to one of my books very recently, and noticed that basically all of the value created in the American Stock Exchange, the top 8, including one which is not one of the big 7, which is outside the market, OpenAI, if you take their value increase, that is basically the whole gain of all the companies in the US, which means basically 500 companies are now worth the same as the top 8.
Oh,
I'll say it
really?
one more time. The top 8 are worth more than all the other 500 right now, which is
Really?
crazy.
And why is that, Fredrik?
Valuations and how the stock market works means that you got both an aspect of speculation, but also stocks and shares, they got like a value of the business. But then in addition to that, people price in the future of the business, whether that's good or bad. In this case, it's a hope. For example, if we take Tesla, they will very soon be known to be doing robots and AI, not cars. And that's where they are going. Back to your question linked to private equity, financing in general. How does AI help and change? I'll zoom out to those biggest investors in the world, which are not banks and not companies, but it's private equity. It could be, and they are companies raising money to invest on others' behalf. Same with venture capital, but they focus on the lower end of the market where they are still growing. Family offices is something that's become very popular lately. That's basically a family has got at least 100 million in disposable cash, and they increase so fast all over the world, including in China. So many new millionaires are minted all the time. So those would like to invest their money, and this could be done by like funds, etc. But it can also be that they need to find the companies to invest in. And here was a really important part. So many people, including many people that I personally know, have set up companies to source those off-market deals, to get direct to the owners. So that's one place where AI is helping. Another aspect is to do like much faster due diligence and to create like that long list and short list of companies to target. Also, like basic due diligence, going through the financials can be done very quickly. Again, on a high level. Same thing, reviewing contracts and legal things. So all of this is before any deal happens.
Yeah, so it's velocity. Velocity
Yeah, exactly.
is, I mean, I know a bit about private equity. I was sitting in a meeting the other day with a very
Yes.
prolific private equity guy, and he was explaining how he values businesses. And it was just as you were saying, that they're not so interested in the history, they're interested in the future, because obviously if they're going to put the money in, then there's going to be an exit down the line. So what
Yep.
they want to know about is what happens between us putting the money in and that exit, and how much do we actually believe in this scenario that you've projected. So I thought, well, that's interesting, but he was also saying, it's just, you have to sift through so much information that it is very, very difficult to actually find the gold. So
Yes.
what you were saying about automating a lot of that through AI makes a lot of sense. And of course, what that means is that speed is definitely going to be massively accelerated, isn't it?
Yes.
The good deals, the good companies are going to find it easier, I would imagine, to cut through. But it
Yes.
also means, obviously, that's good for private equity, but for the businesses themselves who are raising funds, there will be implications as well. So how do you think AI can help those businesses that are on the other side of the private equity? In other words, the fundraising, how can it help them be better and stronger at what they do?
Yeah, tricky question. I mean, ultimately, so many people are right now on individual level using AI to simplify their work, to be more efficient, etc. I think that's a big magnifier of what can be done. And this applies to all aspects of all businesses. So now I was talking, for example, about fundraising. Again, to raise funds, it's also like in sales, it's a numbers game. So you need to talk to many people, you need to build
Yeah.
relationships and have trust. So
Mm.
same thing there, like you make the long list, who should I talk to? And there are
Yeah.
quite a few people just throw out very long list online. That doesn't help, because when you start to come into this kind of money, you need to have a relationship and solid trust. Otherwise, there will be no transaction. So one way to cheat and work with AI is to do a little bit what I am doing. So to work and multiply yourself with producing relevant content. And that can be on social media, it could be publishing things, but ultimately allowing people. We got Daniel Priestley as a mutual connection. He is a very good person in terms of knowing that if you're a key person of influence, that means that you will attract opportunities.
Yep. I fully believe that.
Yeah. Yeah, please go carry on.
Well, I was just thinking, if AI is making it easier for private equity to find deals, and much easier and much faster, then surely for the businesses that are raising finance, surely
Yeah.
there's a process that can be reverse engineered using AI. So
Absolutely.
will there be the companies of the future? I was just imagining that a business might say, okay, our business is going to be, we want to raise private equity
Yep.
at this particular point. And what we're going to do is we are going to follow the formula. So
Yeah.
we're going to reverse engineer, what does a successful business do that raises 100 million or something like that? Okay,
But
what do they do and how can we
yeah,
get it? Is that possible, do you think?
it's 100% possible. So number one, to get that kind of money, you need to have the team. The team is much more important than the product, because ultimately investors are investing into the team. Of course, you need to have a relevant product as well. So the biggest money you will not get in the beginning. For example, SaaS companies, there you need to burn cash. What used to take like 2, 4, 5 years without profit now can be done in the living room of a teenager, basically creating a vibe coding a whole application. Parking that. Back to your question. I'm trying to recapture what you said.
Well,
So
just reverse
how to raise the
engineering.
money?
Yeah.
So basically, reverse engineering. One good thing is you can have AI to sift through some of the best pitch decks in the world.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden now you got a template, what the expected pitch deck might look like.
Yeah.
You can also analyze some of the best companies, what did they do? And reverse engineer it as well. So I just took the list of the top 20 AI companies in Sweden, and I forced AI to come up with like, what are the key trends? What can I take out of this and put into my own business model if relevant? So you can actually pull out some threads and make it relevant. So in terms of raising the funds and working with AI, it is really a lot about trying to still keep the person in the loop. Yesterday or the day before, I decided to be a bit evil.
Oh
So
yeah.
I do get because if you got like investor in the title on LinkedIn, you get a lot of things in your inbox.
I'm sure.
And I got something that, okay, I know the industry, I know the area. It was related to real estate, and something I have got a lot of experience. And I decided to use AI to take the really, really good pitch and all the financial models and everything that they were providing to me, basically, and try to analyze, okay, how has this been created?
Oh.
What is the team behind? Because when I read it, it felt like a couple of key things. My experience allowed me to ask really good questions to AI to basically untangle that it doesn't have a team. And again, because of how I trigger the questions, it also can figure out that the money is going to allow them to recruit the team that they already should have had.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, get it.
furthermore, the time frame now, since they don't have the team, will become completely unrealistic. And the
Ah,
time
yeah.
frame linked to how secure the market is means that the occupancy rate in this case will be a lot lower, and it's also again unrealistic to have this fast acquisition and planning, development, and manning this kind of real estate. So using AI, I could take a really solid presentation, and in less than 15 minutes, I had found all the flaws, which means that's absolutely not of interest to me at all.
Wow.
But it was a
That is
fantastic presentation.
really well. That is just amazing. I mean, it blows my mind really that you can do that, because even a year, 2 years ago, all of that work would have been done by people, real people,
Yeah.
wouldn't it?
I would not have seen it at all so clear. I could see like the small indicators that this might be the case. At the same time, it was a really solid presentation. So it could fool basically 9 investors out of 10 at least, just by like, okay, here is like the money. And
Wow.
then they would be disappointed because it would take longer time than planned. The exit is very uncertain, and all the projections are not so good either.
That is very, very interesting. So really, what we're saying is that AI is going to make business better for investors, because
Yeah,
they are going to be able to predict more accurately whether the funds that they put in are going to get a return, and whether the business is going to be successful. Obviously,
agreed.
there are always going to be variables, because nobody really has a crystal ball. We just make informed
Yeah,
guesses, really, don't we, about the future? But
yes,
that's going to be an effect. And then on the other side, the businesses that are actually raising funds, then it's going to be easier. If this is a collaborative process, let's say if you're an investor, you go back to the business and you say, look, these are the flaws that we've identified,
yep,
then it's going to be easier for the businesses to actually become better businesses and more investable,
yep,
because they will have access to those tools as well. But having said that, it is hard to be an investable business. Really, it is not. I mean, there are far more businesses that want to attract investment than there are investors that are willing to invest in them, right? And that
Yeah,
has been the case for a long time.
yes. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, right now we got another lever. So we spoke about like how do we fund the companies and how they
Yeah.
find them. The next step is also super interesting. Like how can they use AI to increase the value? That's really exactly where I'm working at the moment in terms of what
Ah,
I plan to do myself. So you used to look for companies where you can add some value. For example, they were really good with SEO, but they kind of missed maybe the channel of normal advertising online. So it means that whoever bought the company in full or part could easily add another channel, strengthen something that was obvious. And right now, it's still so early days. Both of us know that companies dealing with AI is still so early. So pretty much no one has implemented something relevant yet. And the whole idea of like agents last year, this might be the year of agents, or not. It still might be too early. So most of the companies are dabbling with AI,
mm,
and they might say that we're using AI, but those who are doing really, really well, who invest like many millions, they are leading the way in a crazy way. And also something worth mentioning, combining what we spoke about so far, we've seen the biggest companies in the world are buying all the good smaller AI companies. Why? They not necessarily need the idea, but they like to get the talent. And we've seen example of
yeah.
companies being bought for hundreds of millions or even billions for getting one guy or girl.
Wow, really?
Yep.
It's there's a lot of people. I have a lot of people come to me and they talk about jobs and they say, Jane, you know a bit about AI, what's going on in the online world, all of this,
Yes.
should we be worried about the future of our children's careers? For example, they might say things like that. And the reality is, I think anybody that is actively incorporating AI into what they do has a
Yes.
bright future right now.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
I'm working with on my own business. I have about 5 tech people because we're incorporating quite a lot of AI into my business as well.
Yes.
And they don't have any problem attracting work. No problem whatsoever. It's the people that they just want to put their heads in the sands and say, well, this is something that I don't really understand. I understand the old way. Surely there's still room for that. No, our world is changing so fast that we all have to embrace it and make it a part of our businesses, even
Yep.
though none of us really know the answer because it's evolving all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, no, completely agree. And to be and stay relevant, at least you need to be an element of AI curious, at least that to dare to try. Because if you dare
Mm.
to try and play, you will learn new things. And like we said last time we spoke, we listen to too much of AI content at the moment, both of us. But guess what? That accelerates our learning so much.
Yeah, and I think there's also I also think something that people get wrong is that I think there's a lot of AI training out there. It's learn how to use this AI tool.
Yep.
And there is only so far that you can go, even as a technically savvy person, with actually learning AI tools. I mean, personally, I don't want to learn AI tools. I don't think that's where my strength is. I want to leverage other people's technical abilities because
Same.
people that are, you know, technical experts, they're always going to be able to grasp this stuff a lot faster than me as a,
Yep.
I mean, I'm reasonably good at tech, but this is gone way beyond just the basic things like marketing automation or whatever. It's
Yep.
genuinely, it's a specialist field, really. So I think it's for us as entrepreneurs and investors. we have to understand at a high level the contribution of AI to our businesses and to the whole business landscape. But I think we also have to leverage the right people in the right way in order to get results. I mean, would you agree with that, Fredrik?
Yeah, Jane, I completely agree with that. So again, if you play to your strength, yes, I've always been technical savvy, but I'm even better at finding the right people and the pile of cash and making all of that work smooth together, which means you and me can amplify other people.
Yeah.
And that means that not only you and me get a job, but we might have tens, hundreds, or thousands of people working and producing things. And same thing here with a podcast like this. Many thousands of people, yes, can pick up ideas and run with it. If we had this conversation offline, no one will benefit. Now everyone can benefit. It's all
Yeah,
that they have
exactly.
to try out.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I do love about podcasting, that we can actually reach people in other parts of the world who
Yeah.
they would never be able to sit in the same room as us, but they can,
Yes.
eavesdrop on our conversation as if they
Yeah,
were in the
exactly.
same room. And isn't that lovely? It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Really love it. Yeah.
Yeah, just to build on that. I mean, I've got different price levels in terms of things I do. I do a fair amount of free things or extremely cheap, like books, also very cheap. And then you might charge a lot, or even that I don't even work for money anymore. I work for like equity and money, or whatever your solution might be that you pick.
Hmm.
But if you don't share anything, people will not get to know you unless you're super highly recommended because of your work, more of a
Yeah.
one basis. But I rather help as many as I can.
Yeah. And I know that obviously we both really strongly believe in the power of we'll call it personal brand, but
Yep.
basically getting out there and establishing some credibility and authority online.
Indeed.
And I think that one thing that AI is it's never going to be there is, well, I mean, perhaps I shouldn't say never, but it's not there at the moment, is we are very interesting as human beings. We are very creative. We're good thinkers. We are
Yes.
very individual. We're unique. And what happens is when you bring people together, even just a conversation like this, or you bring a team together and you build a business around a team, AI can't replicate that magic, can it?
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, Elon Musk would say yes, it can,
Oh,
but
really?
no,
Would
no,
he?
yeah, no, but because he's more like on a level like machine to machine, but it's different. He is not building on the human connection, which you and I are doing, and they're strengthening both of those, of course.
Yeah. And I think that's very interesting because I believe Elon Musk is, they call it on the spectrum, right? So a lot of
Outside the
these, yeah,
spectrum.
on the spectrum. So a certain kind of neurodivergent person is going to be quite low, perhaps in, call it emotional intelligence, because their
Yes.
brains are just hardwired to be a little bit more like a machine.
Yep.
And of course, he's an absolute, genius in what he does, but he can be a little bit unusual personally, let's just say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I suppose we need people in the world. We need these visionaries, don't we? Because we know we have to have, as humans, we have to have people who are really out there and doing crazy stuff and willing to take on huge challenges in order to advance the human race. And of
Agreed.
course, that's what he does. But at the same time, we need people like you and I who are very connection orientated
Yeah.
and who are collaborative and people focused. And, that has always been a massive driver of successful businesses, hasn't it? Is team.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree because if you can be a magnet in terms of attracting people, and if you can be an amplifier as a leader, not to push people down,
Hmm.
but actually lift people up and dare to recruit people that are better than yourself. You mentioned you got a couple of technical people that in all of their specific specialist fields are way stronger than both of us. It's great. It's just a level of matureness to come to
Mhm.
that stage, to allow yourself to become even better by working with even better people than yourself. And I think that's a cool place to be. And then
Yeah.
add AI to it, then you're on track for sure.
Yeah. And I think it's also to do with people's values as well. I think that's terribly important in business, because I
Yeah,
think if you get a bad apple, in other words, somebody who only cares about themselves, that can have a very detrimental impact on a business, can't it? I don't
yeah.
know if I mean, when you look at a team from a private equity perspective, what kind of things are you looking for apart from background and skill set?
You spoke about divergent before. I like to use the word uh, diversity.
Aha.
Diversity of thinking and skills and complementing skills, because ultimately, if they're all the same, that will be a limiting factor.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they're all just gung ho, full steam ahead, all the details will be missing, and it might look great to start with, but it will fall apart behind them.
Yeah, so it's
Hey,
it's
yeah,
kind of like the perfect puzzle, the perfect pieces of the perfect puzzle.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So it fits
Amazing.
together.
So I mean, just before we wrap up, Fredrik, I'd love to hear, in terms of your private equity career, what's been the kind of highlight for you in terms of the most interesting company that you've invested in personally?
I think the most interesting one was a fintech company that I
Mhm.
really enjoyed working with, and that was a case where I was partly involved in the board, so not the executive member, but non-executive advisor. So which meant I can help them to refine the processes,
Mm.
help to fix all or many of the things that I'm writing about in the latest book, in terms of like the numbers in place, start to get more structure, and start to have like less redundancies on key individuals and key man risk and so on. So all of those things come together. I'm not involved with them anymore, but it was a really good journey over just 2 years, and we more than 10 times the value in just 2 years.
Wow, that is really incredible, Fredrik.
Par-
10x
par-
in the value. Yeah.
yeah, partly by understanding the game of raising finance. So you can actually solidify the value of a company. So it, in this case, round numbers, was worth roughly 1 million when we started together. And then by raising finance at different levels. So just pick a generic number. So now we raise the money at a valuation of 2.5 million, and then a 6 million, and 10 million. And all of a sudden, there are enough investors who would invest on each of those levels, which means ultimately the value of the business is now not 1 million, but 10 million. And how can we prove that? Well, 10% was sold for another 1 million, which means the whole is now on a level of 10 million. And also to show there, when you like to sell a company or promote a company, you need to show a growth, a steady growth, or a stepwise growth, and then also need to show some kind of level of profitability. And those two
Mhm.
together creates a great story that attracts big money for the founders. But
Oh,
if you
well,
lack the story, profit or growth, you need to have those in some kind of good balance. You can get away with today not being profitable. Many companies are not profitable, but then you need to grow fast to justify that.
right, right. Well, Fredrik, what can I say? It's been an absolutely fascinating discussion all about private equity, AI, the military, Sweden.
Yeah, yeah.
It's been wonderful to speak to you. And thank you so much for coming on my podcast. And it really has been a pleasure. So you look forward to releasing the episode, and have a great rest of the week.
Perfect. Sounds good to me. Thanks, Jane.
Thank you. Bye bye for now.